Did you know that there is a site based around custom cards? And I'm going to show you the cards that should be added in the new expansion, Voyage to the Sunken City. Subscribe. Your Mother Resunken, made from Dustin Stein, a 5-mana 1/1 Murloc, Colossal plus Infinite. Hey, wait a minute. Queen Oshira, made by Shoeman Band, 8-mana 5/5 neutral legendary Naga. Battlecry: for each spell you've cast while holding this, summon a 5/5 Naga with taunt. Wow, this is a pretty good card. If you draw this early enough and you just so happen to be playing a pretty good spell deck, this is a very powerful effect. This is almost a 8-mana 35/35 with most of it having taunt. That could be a very good effect. Now, the only issue with this card is that you have to draw it in the early game and you have to play enough spells to get max value. But even if you get like 3 Nagas, you're pretty happy with that 8-mana card. I actually think this card is very well balanced, and I think that it's not super scary. It obviously is very powerful if you can use the condition very well, but this is a pretty slow condition. There's often times where you're not even going to play this on 8 mana because it's not worth it. Maybe we make those taunt minions like a 4/5 or a 3/5 just so they're not as ridiculously strong. But I think overall the card design is very well done. Zoth Ship End, made by Curator ? A 10-mana 5/7 neutral legendary minion. Battlecry: Dredge. If it's a death rattle minion, summon it and repeat this Battlecry. This card is really in flavor with N'Zoth, and I think that's awesome. But I think the issue with this card is that it's a little bit too slow. The problem is that you're dredging a card. By the time you get to play N'Zoth, if this card misses once, this card is absolutely garbage. Like, you need to summon a pretty good amount of death rattle minions in order for this card to actually be good. And if you compare this to like any of the other 2 N'Zoths we've seen, this is just way too slow of a card. I actually think at 8 mana, this card is probably okay. You're so dependent on what that first dredge minion is. And unless you're putting a huge density of death rattle minions in your deck, this just feels like a very failed win condition, which I don't want this to be because the flavor is really, really cool. So maybe 8 mana. I think it's probably okay at 8 mana. I think generally speaking, death rattle minions are pretty slow. And if you do get a bunch of death rattle minions at 8 mana, then you've obviously built your deck for this win condition. But I don't think that's going to be very strong. Hi, Captain Peggle, made from JC Stake, a 2-mana 2/3 neutral legendary pirates. Battlecry: Dredge. If it's a legendary card, repeat. Let's be real here, this card's garbage. How many legendary cards are you gonna put into your deck? Maybe what, 4 or 5? Am I really gonna put a 2-mana 2/3 with the potential upside of dredging multiple legendaries to the top of my deck, which on average is not that good because most legendaries that I want to draw are gonna be later in the game. So if I'm playing this on turn 2, I don't really want to draw a legendary. Now, I know you could say, well, just don't dredge your legendary, you idiot, but why am I putting this card in my deck in the first place? I don't think this card's very good. The effect is just too useless compared to other cards, and it probably would just be too slow. Next, we have Ashari Conjur. Listen, I am very sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I can't say that for the life of me. Made by Vile Gloom, a 6-mana 4/3 mage Naga. Battlecry: Dredge. If it's a spell, cast it. And now, obviously, this effect is very powerful. You put a lot of big spells into your deck. You hopefully don't draw them. You hope that they're near the end of your deck, like a Rune of the Archmage. You play this at 6 mana, you get a 4/3, and you cast a spell from your deck, which is technically drawing it as well, which is a very powerful effect. This card is very comparable to Dragoncaster for Mage, which was if you're holding a dragon, your next spell this turn costs 0. But this is arguably just a straight up better effect because you don't need that card in your hand. You also don't need to be holding a dragon. This card is just straight up looking for a spell at the bottom of your deck. I think this card would see play. I think this card is very, very interesting and could lead to a lot of interesting situations. I really like this card. Nice design. Guardian of the Waves, made by Cordy, multiple 1s and 2/2s, a 9-mana 1/6 druid common beast, colossal +6, and taunt. This is a 9-mana 1/6 with taunt. These colossal minions better be nutty. And they're all 2-mana 1/5s with taunt. Okay, so this is, let's be real here, this is a big boy. You are summoning a lot of taunts and a decent amount of stats with this card. You're summoning a lot more health than you are attack, which is fine because this is probably just going to be used as some kind of big taunt wall. I don't know if colossals are supposed to be common. Is this card too good at 9 mana? I think at 9 mana, this is a pretty good card, and it's very scary with a card that could buff the whole board up. But the fact that you could do it twice is the only part of this card that makes me feel a little bit weird. I would 100% make this card a legendary. I think this is the kind of card that I would only want to see once in a game of Hearthstone. Otherwise, I'm going insane. But overall, a pretty cool idea. Next, we have Sea Hydra from Merlin Wall, 6-mana 1/6 1/6 neutral epic beast. Colossal +2. Whenever one of its heads dies, summon 2 more in its place. This is the head. It's a 1 mana 1/1. Virtually, this card is a 6 mana 3/8 with a little bit of an upside. Now, I actually think this card is extremely weak. I don't think any person would want to play this. The only real issue with this card is that if your opponent can't deal 6 damage to the Hydra or just trade minions into it, this card just feels like it's not impactful enough to really see play at 6 mana. I also think the effect is kind of whatever because most decks can't really utilize this that much. And if your opponent just kind of ignores the heads, it's not that great. I think at 5 mana, this card probably will see a little bit more play. I think it's a little bit more reasonable there. But even then, I don't know if the effect is that great. It might be worth it to make the Hydra heads a 1 mana 1/2 just so it has a little bit more of a chance to actually be relevant. I think overall this card is just a little bit too slow, especially for the colossal effects. Maybe make it so the Deep Sea Hydra has +2 health for every Hydra head summoned. Really cool design though, I will say that. Drazar, made by Muro Zondi, a 6 mana 3/4 neutral legendary Naga. Rush, colossal +1, has lifesteal and +2 attack while you control Drazar Family. Drazar Family is a 3 mana 0/6 neutral Naga. Adjacent Nagas have +3 health. Your rightmost Naga has taunt. When you summon this card, you have a 6 mana 5/7 with lifesteal with Rush, which is pretty decent. I think the only thing I would maybe change on this card is to have your leftmost Naga have taunt. That way, when this card is summoned, Drazar actually has taunt, so it's like defending his family, which I think this guy actually mentioned it in the comments down below. Other than that, I actually think this card is really well designed. Really interesting design. It's exactly what a colossal minion should be. I love this card. Good Naga. Next, we have Wavebreaker from Uber Trainer 2000, a 2 mana 1/4 neutral Naga. Battlecry, if you played a Naga while holding this, draw a Naga. This is a very easy card to evaluate. This is a good card. If you're playing a Naga deck, you want this in your deck. It is a 1/4 that cycles a card, and hopefully you draw into a Naga that you want in your mid game or late game. Love this card. Arguably the best card I've seen so far. Nagas Spellseeker from Dustin Stein, a 1 mana 2/1 neutral Naga minion. Battlecry, if you're holding a Naga, draw a spell. All right, we saw the other version of this. Very good card. Just put this card into the game. It's very smart and it makes total sense if we want to push a Naga archetype. Azumat the Sealord, made by creator ? A 10 mana 8/8 neutral colossal. At the end of your turn, your arms of Azumat attack random enemies. Colossal +4. All the arms are just 2/2s that are immune while attacking, and they all have awesome cool photos for themselves, which is cool. As much as I think this card has really neat flavor, I just think the card is absolutely awful. Raid Boss Onyxia is just a strictly better card than this. You get a immune 8/8 with Rush that can attack immediately, but you also get a bunch of 2/1 whelps that attack your enemies. This one is just a lot slower and you're paying the exact same mana for it. At 8 mana, this card probably is okay. I think at 10 mana, you're just basically gimping yourself. I do also think that maybe at 8 mana, it would be a little bit too good. So maybe we go to 9 mana, but I would also make it so it just fills the board. Octopuses have 8 arms. So why are we only using 4 of them? I think that's completely fine. I don't think that's broken. And I think it would make this legendary a lot better and comparable to Onyxia. Medusa's Clairvoyant, made by Cooler 39140, a 1 mana 1/2 neutral rare. Battlecry, look at the top card of your deck. You can move it to the bottom of it. Dredge. If we think that looking at the top card and then potentially replacing it is a very powerful effect for 1 mana, then this card obviously can see play. I'm not really sure what deck I really want this in because it's not like a cycle like Loot Hoarder is. This is just replacing the top card. So is playing a card that lets you pick the top card of your deck good enough? I think about the 2 mana 2/3 that they showcased with the new expansion, and I don't think that card is playable. This card is a little bit better than that. So maybe this card has a little bit of a chance of actually seeing play in standard, but I think you're basically running as a one of, potentially trying to find a awesome card in a combo deck. I would think that this card as a 1 mana 1/3 would probably be just a little bit better, and it would probably would see a little bit more play, but really cool effect. Curious to see if Blizzard will use this in the upcoming expansion. Defective Anglerfish, made by Sanchez Egg, 4 mana 4/4 epic mech neutral minion. Battlecry, if this minion was dredged, destroy an enemy minion. Okay, there is a huge polarization to this card. If this card card is not dredged, a 4-mana 4/4 mech is not being played. If it is dredged, a 4-mana 4/4 mech destroy a minion is pretty freaking good. The effect is everything on this card, and if it's not at the bottom of your deck, then this card just feels absolutely garbage. You draw this later in the game, or you top deck it, or it's in your mulligan, this card feels absolutely horrible. You may have to add taunt or rush just for the card actually to see play, and then if it was dredged, you destroy an enemy minion. But wow, already to the end of the video. I bet you liked it. You should check out another video. Thanks for watching. You look fantastic.